Scott Matthews, and on behalf of myself and co-chairs for this colloquium, Richard Lane and Josh Bosch, I'd like to welcome you to our second Young Investigator Colloquium, which we believe will build on the success of the inaugural event last year. We'd first like to congratulate the scholars who were selected for this colloquium. Rigorous standards have been established for acceptance into this program, so your participation in this colloquium is a significant honor. Scholars, we believe you are the rising stars of our field, and we hope that you will find your academic home here at APS. We would also like to thank the mentors who generously carved out time from their busy schedules to review your proposals, attend the colloquium, and lead the small groups. Many experienced investigators have volunteered to be mentors for this colloquium, which is a testimony to how much our organization values this activity. It was only after selecting the young investigators that we hand-picked mentors in order to provide the best possible fit to the interests of the young investigators. We think that we have all of the ingredients in place to have a great day, just as we did last year. So one of the things that makes APS great is its rich history. Hundreds of distinguished scientists have contributed to making APS the leading society dedicated to the integration of biological, psychological, and social factors in medicine. When we considered how to name the 5 working groups at this colloquium for you, the future leaders of our field, we realized that we had a wonderful opportunity to honor some of the leading pioneers from our past. So please direct your attention to the slide where these pioneers are pictured. Helen Flanders Dunbar was a physician scientist at Columbia University who launched our field with the publication of a book titled Emotions and Bodily Changes in 1935. She was the first editor of our journal, Psychosomatic Medicine, from 1939 to 1947. Walter Cannon was a professor of physiology at Harvard in the 1920s through 40s, who developed the concept of homeostasis and coined the term the fight or flight response. He was also a pioneer in including the brain when considering how peripheral physiological systems were regulated. Hans Selye from McGill University in Montreal described the general adaptation syndrome or stress response beginning in the 1930s and went on to do seminal work in describing the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis in health and disease. George Engel worked at the University of Rochester in the 1940s through 80s and was most famous for creating and explicating the biopsychosocial model of medical care. He was president of APS in 1953 and 1954. John W. Mason worked at Walter Reed Army Hospital and later at Yale University in the 1950s through 90s. He created the field of psychoendocrinology by showing that mental states and mental disorders were best characterized by the profile of activity across hormonal systems. John Mason was president of APS in 1969 and 1970. We hope that you are inspired by the work of these founding fathers and mothers as you chart the future path of discovery in our fields. Next, I'd like to briefly review today's schedule. First, we will have the privilege of hearing a keynote address from Dr. Redford Williams, after which the breakout sessions will begin. From 9 to 10:30, 3 scholars in each small group will present their research for 30 minutes each. This will be followed by a 15-minute break. Next, from 10:45 to 11:45, 2 scholars in each small group will present their research for 30 minutes each. This will also be followed by a 15-minute break. The colloquium will then have a 30-minute wrap-up session and will conclude at 12:30. So next, I'd like to welcome my mentor and friend, Richard Lane, who will introduce Dr. Williams.